Good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to say how thankful I am for all the love and support that I've received over the past couple of days. I want to reiterate that this is nothing that I've done, and none of this is anything that I could ever do, but Him and Him only through me. But what Terry was saying about compassion and love, and what Ode was praying about support, it really goes into what I want to talk about tonight. And it's very important, quite obviously. And I need to get in my word more and start reading more and studying more, because I can't just find all these correlations all throughout the Bible like Terry can or somebody else. But maybe it's because I'm just a good old boy. All I know is sports, and I really got into NASCAR more this year. And that's what I want to talk about today. If y'all don't know much about NASCAR, which I'm sure everybody does, we live in the South, you've got teams all throughout the sport. An owner or a driver can own specific cars, like the Penske teams. It's a team of Ford cars. And as they race along, they bump each other. As they go along, you might have a teammate back here and a teammate up here. And this teammate will come up and hit them in the bumper, and they'll push each other along. And you say, well, they're supposed to be racing. And yeah, but they're all on one team, and they all bump each other and help each other along. And they do it because they have one goal. And it's not always just to win themselves. It's because it helps the team. It gives the team a win. Much like we're all on one team, the church. And not just this church, but the church as a whole. We're all on one team. And we all have one goal. And that's to see Jesus praised, and He have all the glory, and to see sinners saved. And that's how we have to be. We take the imagery of the cars and the teammates bumping each other along. That's how we have to be as the church with each other. We've got to encourage each other along and bump each other along and help each other out as best we can, because it's important. And we have to do it with energy and passion and spirit and love. And we've got to be on fire. And I'm going to use Brad. And I'm not saying he's better than anybody else, but I'm just saying, Brad, the way he's fired up on Sundays and on Wednesdays and on Facebook, that gets me going. And it takes me to another NASCAR term of drafting. Right, drafting is really, that's most of NASCAR. You've got these big old long tracks, and you've got guys going 200 miles an hour. And you've got another guy coming up. He might not be going as fast, but he catches the wind off the first car, and he can draft and go just as fast as that other car. So when we're energetic with each other, when we love each other, when we show each other passion and energy, other people catch on to that. And it fires you up. And I promise I'll get into scripture here in a minute. But you think about Tennessee football, right? I know that very well. Go Vols. When it's third down, we're playing Alabama. It's an orange out. What do? You get loud. You scream. Clap your hands. Beat the bleachers down. It's playing third down for what? You get it. You get loud, right? And you've got the team, and they feed off of that. They get passionate. It fires them up, and they want to go out and make a play. And that's what we're supposed to do for each other in the church. We fire each other up so that we can go out and encourage others. When I said Sunday, when I felt my call to preach, I said it can't just be in here. We're all called to preach. We're all called to go out and spread the gospel. So it can't just be in the church. It's got to be in the church and abroad. To the people who are lost, to people who don't know Jesus, we've got to be energetic for them. Because when we walk dead in our faith, when we walk meandering, then we're their only hope. We are the only hope. The church of Jesus Christ, we're His hands and feet. And if we're not doing our job, people died in sin. And I want to go ahead and get into Terry's message. You know what? I had this written down in my notes and I almost forgot. Terry, you fired me up Sunday, man. Hearing him, woo, getting them Ric Flairs in there. I love that, man. I told you, I feed off her energy. And a lot of people don't like that. But I do. They say preachers get too excited. It's because they can't help themselves. They're so piled up with God's love, they've got to get it out. I want to turn to Hebrews 10:25 real quick. And I've got a few places that I want to turn to, and I'll be going back and forth. You might not be able to keep up with me. I'm very scatterbrained. Hebrews 10:25, and this is the reason that we come together in the church and what we should do. Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. Exhorting one another. And you ask what that means. I looked it up on Google. An address or communication emphatically urging someone to do something. You see that word emphatically, right? The first few letters, EPH, emphatically, and I think empathetically. The word empathetic, meaning to feel what somebody else is feeling. To get down on their level and level with them and encourage them, urging someone to do something. We encourage each other. We bump each other along just as the cars do. And I won't mention this a lot. I'm going to keep going back and forth between this, but Christ tells us to love others as he loves us. And who is our biggest fan? Who exhorts us every single day? Christ does. He bumps us along. He helps us. He guides us. He leads us. And that's what we have to do for each other. When I was going to Pryor and Terry about filling my call to preach and wondering where I should go, they both were telling me how much I just need to pray and I need to take a step out on faith and trust God. And they were excited. The excitement in them meant a lot to me. And when I shared that with y'all, the encouragement and the love and support that I gave was exhorting. And I'm going to turn to 1 Thessalonians 5:11 real quick. I told you I'm going to keep going back and forth. If I can find it. I have these all on my phone, but I want to use my Bible. That's what it says. What did I say? First thing? I've went over this so many times you would think that I know exactly what it's saying. What is this? I had this going earlier in the truck. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, "Wherefore comfort yourselves together and edify one another, even as ye also do." Comfort yourselves together. This goes into what I want to talk about later, but comforting yourselves together. That's what we should do as a church and as a body and as friends and family. We comfort ourselves. We open ourselves to be there for one another. We're a shoulder to cry on. We're support. Christ is our refuge and our strength and our strong tower. And shouldn't we be that for our brothers and sisters in Christ? It also says, edify one another. And edify means to provide moral or intellectual instruction, advice and encouragement. When people come up to you saying, hey, I'm going through this, or I'm feeling this, or I need advice, we say, you know what? I'm here with you because I know what you're going through, because we're a family and we do this together. Because that's what Christ does for us. He gives us advice. And not that we could ever be as good as Christ, but if we're to love others as much as he loves us, we've got to do this for one another. We've got to bump each other and encourage each other along. I'm going to turn to James 5:16 real quick. And this also goes into what I meant to eventually get into. But it says, confess your faults one to another, and pray one for another, that you may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Confessing your faults to one another is something that's very hard, and I can really attest to that. My testimony the other week is something I never thought I'd say to anybody else. And it's one of the hardest things that I had to do. But I felt that God was leading me to share that with my church. And the encouragement and the love and support that I felt after was impeccable. I can't even begin to describe it. People coming up and saying, you know, it's okay. I know where you are. I know where you've been. I've been there too. And this is what this verse is saying. Confessing your faults to one another and loving one another and being there for one another. And it takes me into the word compassion. And Terry read this verse not long ago, and I'm so glad he did because it got me going on this. 1 Peter 3:8. It's like the next page of my Bible. It says, finally, I want to touch on this for a little bit. This is the longest part of my notes. Be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another. Love as brethren. Be pitiful, be courteous. Now I'm going to go on to verse 9 a little bit later. But it says, be ye all of one mind. And that's hard to do. Because we're all different people. We all come from different backgrounds. We've all got different things going on. But it says, be ye all of one mind. Just like NASCAR. They've all got one goal. Football, they've all got one goal. They're trying to win for their team. Right? We've all got one goal. No matter where you come from, no matter who you are, we've got one goal, and that's to see sinners saved and Jesus have the glory. So we've got to try to be of one mind. We've got to try to put our differences aside, and especially over things that don't matter. And I might be stepping out of my britches here. Please forgive me if I am. But I would say a lot of the problems that come from a church, the quarrels that come between people in the church come from the kitchen. And you know, that might not be true, but I sometimes feel like it is. You know, people get so upset about what goes where, who cooks what. Maybe not in this church, I don't think so. But, you know, who cooks what or what goes where, what decorations go where. And it might not just be the kitchen, but in anything, right? Quarrels just come up out of nowhere. But we have to have compassion for one another, as James 5, or 1 Peter 3:8 says. Having compassion for one another. And when I think about that word, it's not just love. It's not just, yeah, I love everybody, but I'm going to keep everybody at an arm's distance because I don't always get along with them. Compassion. And you think about that word, and it goes with compassion, community, companionship, camaraderie, right? People, the coming together, C-O-M, right? We're all together. And when I think of compassion, I think of having compassion for your companion, right? Jesus, our companion. He's got true compassion for us. And true compassion comes out of sacrifice. We see in Ephesians 5:2, I told you I'm going to be flipping and flipping around. I should probably be keeping my place. This tells us what compassion truly is and what Christ did for us. Ephesians 5:2, and walk in love as Christ also hath loved us and hath given himself for an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savor. That's what compassion is, and that's what we have to have for one another. Compassion comes through sacrifice. Whenever you love somebody so much, even when you don't always get along with them, you're able to put that away and say, you know what? Whatever quarrel we have, let's throw it away. Because I have compassion for you enough to love you in a way that doesn't always benefit me. Christ died on the cross knowing that not all of us would accept it. That not all of us would come to him. Right? So we've got to do things for people knowing that it might not always benefit us. I'll share a personal story about Kylie and I. I get real hard-headed. And this really, really coincides with us. We got in an argument one night about how we always get to do the things I want to do. We go to games. I don't know. We'll go to Bass Pro. We'll go out. We'll go ride around, and we do dude stuff. And she's always up for it because she loves me. She wants to see me happy. She sacrifices sometimes things that she might not always want to do because it makes me happy. Guess who always doesn't always return the favor? That would be I. So that's caused arguments before because Kylie likes girly things. She's a girl. I don't always like doing that. And I find a way to let her know in my hard-headed way. And it's took a while, but she's managed to beat it into me, not physically. But I've got to be willing to give stuff up that sometimes I don't always want to do because it makes her happy. God died for us. Jesus took on flesh. He didn't have to do that. He did. But he could have. What if it didn't happen? He took on flesh to die for us, to give us life more abundant and free. He sacrificed due to compassion. And that's what we have to have for one another. We've got to put quarrels aside. We've got to put useless things that don't matter aside. You know, we're going to think differently. Oh, well, let's have enough compassion and love for one another to do anything that we can for each other. I can tell you that I love you, but if I'm not sticking my neck out for you and doing all that I can for you to make sure that you're in a good place, do I truly, truly love you? I think the answer is no. Because that's what Christ would do for us. And if we're not loving each other the way that He would love us, then we don't truly love. And that's a hard thing to say, because it's hard to say that I would die for somebody. And it doesn't always have to be the case. It could be simple as, I don't know, helping somebody walk across the street. Something simple that shows love. Something that doesn't always benefit you. I'm going to take NASCAR again as an example. You know, the guys that bump each other along, the teammate that's pushing him along, he doesn't always get the win, right? He's not the one doing burnouts in the infield. He's not the one drinking a Coca-Cola doing an interview talking about how he's the best in the world, and he wakes up in the morning. I'm talking about Talladega Nights now. But he's not the one that gets the fame and fortune, right? But he got the help. But the one in the back that pushed him along, he should be saying, you know what? I don't get to drink the Coke on TV. I don't get to do the burnouts. But at the same time, my team won. My team had a victory. And though I don't have the reward right now, I don't have the victory right now, the prize that I win, this is how NASCAR works, they have playoff points in the future because they placed. It might not have been first, but they placed, and they have playoff points in the future. Right? We put our treasures in heaven, something that we don't get to yet. And I say all this to say that when you help somebody out, when you have compassion for somebody, when you sacrifice something for somebody, you might not always feel the reward. And not that we do it for a reward, as Paul would say, God forbid. We do it because we love, because that's what Christ would do, and that's what He's instilled in us to do. And our reward is in heaven. And I want to stay on compassion for a minute. This is going to be a little bit of a harder topic. And I hope to put it in the right words, because it could go a wrong way very quick. But this is what God has put on my heart. We have to have compassion for those that don't believe like us. And I don't mean different religions. I mean denominations. We have to have compassion on those that we disagree with. Please don't take this the wrong way, but in a perfect world, that man doesn't mess up. That man doesn't create division. That man doesn't go his own way because he gets mad. We don't have denominations. Ephesians 4:5 says, one Lord, one faith, one baptism. Not that I'm putting down other denominations, that's my point. It's come from a lack of encouragement, going back to my point earlier, a lack of encouragement and a surplus of judgment. When people feel differently in the church, I'm not saying this one, there are many churches who are so quick to put others down, it leads others astray. They might leave the church. The church might leave them behind. And they go off and start a new one. That's why we have so many. We've got, I don't know, Methodist, Baptist, other Baptists, Church of God, Church of Christ. Like I said, not that I'm putting them down, but it comes from lack of encouragement. When somebody has a disagreement, churches need to come together and say, hey, let's get through this. Let's get through this together, because I love you and I have compassion on you, and I don't want this to break us apart. You think about a relationship, right? Your relationship with Christ. We mess up, or we do something different. He has compassion on us, and he wants to reconcile. I'm kind of getting away with what I was wanting to talk about. But we see these churches doing things differently, and I'm just as guilty as this as anybody else. So many are so quick to put them down. We see Pentecostals, and they're dancing and shouting and yelling, and sometimes we don't like the way they dress or the way they act. But should we be so quick to condemn them over things like that, over physical things that don't even matter? Or should we encourage them and say, hey, you know what, you're on fire for God, and I love that. But let's not be so quick to align ourselves with what church we go to, whether we're a Methodist or a Baptist or a Church of God or a Church of Christ. Let's encourage each other to say, you know what? I might disagree with some things you do. It don't matter. You're going by the Bible and what Christ says and what he's laid out for you and the way that he would have you run a church. That's what matters. And I didn't necessarily mean to start talking about different churches and all that. Like I said, that's a touchy subject, and I can get in some trouble for that. But I want to correlate that to the people in the church. We've got to have compassion for one another. And I keep repeating myself, but it's important. And I'm telling this to myself, like I said, just as I am anybody else. We've got to push each other along and be there for one another. Comfort yourselves together. Be an open arm for somebody. Just like NASCAR. I think that's all I got. Do I have anything else? Oh.
Good job.
That's my main point. And this church does a great job of that. I really do believe that. And I could be telling myself this, that I just need to get out and be more of a light and be more of an energetic person for Christ. So this is just what I felt was on me to share. And I hope somebody got a blessing out of it just as much as I did. Thank you all for encouraging me. Thank you, Terry, for allowing tonight to happen. But most importantly, thanks be to God. Without him, I wouldn't be standing here. I try to thank him every morning when I wake up. Now, I should have woke up a little bit earlier, but I'm thankful that I could get out of bed. I'm thankful I can stand and breathe and talk and see and hear. And simple things that I think we all too often take for granted. So let's be thankful. Let's be energetic. Let's be compassionate.